Hello Thunderfoot, and hello Richard Coughlin 616-000-90210. Unlike most, if not all, the people who've made video responses to both of you in the past few days, I'm someone you're both subscribed to. Whether or not that changes after watching this video is entirely up to both of you, of course. For much of the time I've been a YouTuber, I've been considered somewhat a friend to both of you. And just as with all of my friends, it's not easy to point out when a friend is in the wrong. But I've always believed that if you feel that you can't be honest with a friend out of fear of public backlash or being perceived as unpopular, then that person's not really a friend anyway. He's nothing more than a status symbol. And I certainly wouldn't value a friendship that has conditions that involve holding my tongue and kissing ass. First off, I'd just like to say that I really couldn't give a damn about your squabbling, but it has brought up an interesting topic for me. Thunderfoot, your behavior has become increasingly disturbing lately. It's overwhelmingly obvious that you make it a habit to ignore the more focused and rational video responses and only highlight the ones that are easy pickings to be portrayed as buffoons. No offense, but it's not exactly a challenge to take clips of Richard Coughlin and make him appear irrational. I think you totally agree with that. And I also believe that it's horribly disingenuous to sift through and only pick out the most ludicrous and over-the-top clips of people who don't like you as representative of all the arguments made against your claims, knowing that whatever video responses you receive will pale in comparison to the amount of views you get, so less people overall will be on to you. You've done that more than once. Now, I'm a larger-than-average channel, not anywhere near as big as yours, so I do know a thing or two about trolls and haters. Demonizing your opponents to make them appear to be trolls when they are not is a cheap and dishonest way of wriggling out of addressing their counter-arguments. I also understand that having a big channel comes with a lot of attention and a lot of power, and the power to influence people is very seductive. I too have felt the temptation to manipulate my audience for my own benefit, like e-begging, or turning them against somebody I don't personally like. But as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has taught us, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm not one of those who cries bullying just because a large channel rips a smaller channel to shreds. But having a big channel requires getting your facts straight, if you care anything at all about integrity. Because we all know that big channels have scores of mindless devotees who are too lazy to do anything but just accept what you say with blind allegiance. And lately, I've been getting the impression that that's exactly what you count on. I would much rather people dislike me for my actual viewpoints than for them to be correct in assuming that I dodge legitimate rebuttals and grievances because of my ego. You can't possibly be serious when you say that atheists who find your fervent hatred of Muslims distasteful are cowards who are willing to defend Islam. I got accused of that after I uploaded my video about the protesters who opposed Park 51, the Ground Zero Mosque. I made it very clear that I have no love for Islam, and when it comes to religion, I don't play favorites. They are all built from the same foundation of superstition and nonsense, and all potentially dangerous in the hands of fanatics. It is my hope for mankind that more people discard all religions and embrace reality for all that it is. But I also believe in religious tolerance, and I detest any example of bigotry or hostility towards an entire group of people based on their religion or guilt by association. But that doesn't mean that I defend Islam or the atrocities that have been carried out in its name. The main reason that I don't feel the need to engage in ineffective publicity stunts like burning copies of the Quran and drawing stick figures of Muhammad, both of which, by the way, are poor substitutes for actually debunking the religion's claims, is because I live in the United States, just like you. And here, Christianity is still the religion that is wreaking the most havoc in politics, education, and law, not Islam. Muslims don't scare me. Old white people with political power and Bibles scare me. And people aren't cowards just because they aren't simple enough to be driven mad into Hulk smash rage by viewing continuous loops of strategically placed footage of planes flying into buildings or angry fanatics marching in the streets of the Middle East. I am not one of those frightened little people who had never heard of Islam until September 11, 2001. So naturally, I'm just not susceptible to that kind of propaganda. I grew up in South Paterson, New Jersey, the second largest Muslim Middle Eastern community in the United States after Dearborn, Michigan. I grew up with first-hand insight into American Muslim way of life. So the implication that all Muslims inherently follow the same violent ideology as terrorists? That is the thinking of a coward. When it comes to Draw Muhammad Day, I have no problem with its purported aim. The refusal to give in to fear of reprisal for portraying Muhammad in any way because it offends some Muslims is one I can totally agree with. Your zealousness for this project would give one the impression that it would cross boundaries, and yet it doesn't. Because when people start making images of you that you find offensive, you complained. You called it identity theft? That is an insult to real victims of identity theft. It's satire, and it is satire to Photoshop your head on the body of a man masturbating because no reasonable person would see this and think it's real. And contrary to your assertion, there's no exemption for people who are still alive. Yeah, it's really stupid and juvenile, and it served no purpose but to point and laugh at you. But it is still an obvious fake. And if Larry Flynt can legally parody Jerry Falwell in Hustler magazine in a pornographic way, then the same can be done to you, and anyone else for that matter. But then, you're already aware of this, considering that you uploaded a video containing a photoshopped image of Kent Hovind about to be raped in a prison shower. But going back to the issue of responsibility, you falsely accused Coughlin of organizing this while already knowing that he had nothing to do with it. You start disseminating incorrect information and not follow up with corrections or don't even care to, and your credibility is shot to hell. But there are other consequences that can negatively affect others. You should have realized this when the user TamTamPamela was run off YouTube recently after you used a clip of her in a video praising God for the Japanese tsunami and not making it clear that she was a Poe, but instead said, for your point, that it didn't matter. Well, I'm sure it mattered to her, for being misrepresented to thousands of people. But you know, it doesn't even matter who created those images of you. I thought freedom of speech was important to you, and that freedom includes satire and mockery. I would have figured that you, of all people, would be able to put aside your differences with Richard long enough to acknowledge the fact that, despite your claim that he was permanently banned, his Coughlin 666 channel was in fact terminated because of false flagging and over 40 baseless DMCAs. Undue censorship was an issue that used to matter to you. Remember the DMCA abuse channel that you and several others set up, which hasn't been touched in nearly a year? Looks like someone has towed the party line in exchange for some YouTube perks. But I have to say, the only thing that I was truly offended by in your last video was when you made the comparison between you and when Venom Fang X falsely reported DPR Jones of having an underage girl appear topless on webcam and encouraged others to report him as well. And then you implied that your situation was worse. What has become of you and your channel that you waste your time making videos about who said what about you or your mother in a video or on blog TV? You spent years building up a highly respected channel dedicated to promoting science and education and debunking creationism, and now you're pissing it away with this public whining of so-called dividing the house, which is just an eloquent way of demanding that no one dislike you or disagree with you. And the last time I checked, nobody is using your real identity, so you really can't claim identity theft. At the most, you could claim bullying, which is still a huge stretch because I find it very hard to believe that you feel threatened or intimidated by any of those whom you have highlighted. In fact, it's really easy to take a clip of some random guy shouting obscenities at you, or use a clip of Boundless Eyes singing a parody and not feel anything but complete self-congratulating satisfaction, knowing that they are about to be trolled for the crime of openly disparaging you by the same non-fact-checking freethinkers who flood your channel with lock-stepping adulation. Doesn't it bother you that so many people swallow what you say at face value without even considering that you might be wrong? You want to be known for promoting critical thinking, And yet you appear to be happily taking advantage of the fact that a lot of your subscribers are playing follow the leader with the same mindless fanaticism as with any religion. I don't want subscribers like that, and I don't respect people who do.